this maize was not there when we needed it.
Yeah. Okay.
It is only now that we are hearing some of it was actually being stored somewhere as Kenyans were dying.
Yes. I wanted to take a break, but before you come back, Mheshimiwa, I'll ask you this question, Mheshimiwa Peter, because some say that it was not ratified on the floor of the House, the importation of maize. It was not ratified. That's why now there is an uproar from members of parliament from the northeast and western Kenya. If at all there was a discussion on the floor of the House, then I'm so sure these MPs would have not called for such a press briefing and such threats to impeach the CS.
First of all, I want to say this, that there was a cabinet meeting, and out of the cabinet meeting, we were informed that the cabinet decision has lifted the ban on GMOs.
Right.
At that time, nothing was raised. Now, we are getting to a point where now, because of the situation we are in this country now and affecting our people, the government has decided that maize was going to be imported. And because of that, therefore, people have now are now up in arms that no, we don't want that, this timing is not good. But when that ban on GMO was being lifted, I think almost a month ago, nobody raised anything and there was no issue. So I want to say that I am not aware whether of at a time when this one came to the floor of the House that Sunday was discussed to import maize. I think this is just maybe a government decision, and the minister said that, and he went ahead to say that we were going to import 10 million metric tons of maize. So I want to say that that has now the main conflict here, the main issue here is the timing, as I said. But you know, we are experiencing the worst drought in decades, in about 4 decades, and we have never gotten here. But from history and experience, we always between 2 and 5 years we come across drought, we experience drought between 3 and 4 and 5 years in this country. So by bringing in GMO, we are going to get seeds that are drought tolerant. And therefore, as we move along and as we get into the future, we will be able to ensure that those in the north will be having seeds that they can plant, and even during short rains, they can be able to produce food and feed themselves. It becomes a bit sustainable as we move forward.
Okay.
So that's what I think.
All right.
Yes.
Let's take a break. And when we come back, I want us to finalize on this issue of, excuse me, the issue of the maize headache and whether you are planning to impeach CS Moses Kuria. The signatures are being started to be collected today. Let's take a break. The issue of school calendar ahead as parents come January next year is also something that I want to talk about. That and much more when you come back after this break. All right, welcome back. In studio, I still have Honorable Abdul Haro Kore, MP of Mandera South, and Member of Parliament of Sigor, Peter Lochaka Pong, who we are discussing matters of national importance. Mheshimiwa, before we took a break, the issue of impeachment, there's a threat to impeach CS Moses Kuria. Is this even feasible?
I don't think it's feasible. This is just too early in his term. Secondly, we know Moses Kuria. Moses Kuria has been reckless in many instances, but I think it's just a wake-up call to make him realize that he's no longer that activist on the campaign trail.
Yes.
He's now a cabinet secretary, a substantive cabinet secretary for trade in this country. And there are certain things he cannot do that he used to do before, and I don't think it warrants the threshold warrants for his impeachment for what he said. Of course, he will defend himself. We don't hold brief for him. He will defend himself, and as usual, they will say he was misquoted. He meant X instead of Y. But I think it doesn't warrant, what he said doesn't warrant for his impeachment right now. Yes.
Some would argue that it's just because of the roadside declarations that usually happen. Perhaps certain statements have to come and ratified and okayed by the president.
Yes.
But when such kind of statements are made, then it would raise so many questions.
Yes, definitely. Moses Kuria needs to understand, like I've said, he's no longer an activist on the campaign trail. He's a substantive cabinet secretary, and these roadside declarations are things Kenyans have fought for since the late Moi's time.
Yeah.
And we don't want to go back to that culture of roadside declaration where cabinet secretaries or top government officials make declarations which have no force in law. And if that happens, I know they will make headlines. But as rightful thinking Kenyans, we know those roadside declarations are just hot air, and they will not go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I consider Kuria's roadside declaration as just hot air.
Okay.
And we need to dismiss it as such.
All right. Mheshimiwa Peter, we are in a dilemma right now. Tons of maize are still at the port of Mombasa, not yet offloaded. And farmers in the North Rift are saying we are almost harvesting, bumper harvest, and they also have certain stock in store. So what will happen? Because now it's like we're in a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to say that, first of all, before I say something about the imported maize versus what is being harvested, I want to make a comment on the CS.
Yes.
The Honorable Moses Kuria.
Go ahead.
That the Honorable Moses Kuria wanted to justify the importation of maize. And the manner in which he did it was a bit reckless. And we just want to remind the Cabinet Secretary, the Mheshimiwa Moses Kuria, that now we should now know that there is a thin line between when he's making pronouncement as his opinion, giving an opinion, personal opinion, and when he's making a government pronouncement position. So that is now what is getting him into trouble. The kind of the kind of statements he made in justifying the importation of the maize. But however, I want to say that that may not necessarily warrant an impeachment. But as, of course, he goes along with his duties and his work, he should be very careful so that he does not again make reckless statements that can put him in trouble. But however, I think he'll also get an opportunity to defend himself and say what he exactly meant. But that what he said put in another way would be valid. So the statements he made, and the language he used is what is the issue. But otherwise, the justification for the importation of maize, with me, I agree. So I want to say that, now, like I said before, the timing of this importation of maize is what is suspect. And it's like either it is getting some people business, the ultimate motive or the real reason probably is to give some people some business. But if government was serious enough, we would first of all exhaust the maize we have, take it to the north, take it to the where people were affected in Asali regions. And then after that, now probably import maize that would get into the maize reserves.
Where's the source of this maize?
Which one?
The port of Mombasa.
We are reading that maize is already at the port of Mombasa. Whether
but
that
the
is
point
true,
of origin is still...
We don't know. We
exactly.
don't even know whether it is true that the maize is in Mombasa.
Even that maize exists.
Yeah, we don't know. But you see, what we are being told is that already, after the pronouncement, already we have maize in Mombasa. How soon? And how fast? So that is something that we yet don't know, and the origin of this maize we can also tell here confidently. So that's why we are saying what we can be sure is that we have maize in parts of this country that are being harvested now. People are harvesting maize. If government is serious enough and if they have the resources, then they can get that maize and then take it to places where people are suffering from hunger. Yeah. So, for example, in the north, people have problems. Their livestock have died.
Yes.
Food prices have gone up. And in fact, people don't even access food. The cost of livestock is also very low. So those are some of the water bodies that the small ponds and dams have dried up. So there's a whole problem in the north, and it needs urgent intervention. That is why you even see the other day, the president is trying to talk to well-wishers to mop up any available resource so that we can get resources, that we can procure food and take this food to our people who are affected in the north. It is dire. This situation is dire. It may not be as we are talking here. It is bad. And I want to say that the government should do anything possible to ensure that we get food to our people. But the food we get to our people must be safe.
Yes.
And something that has been approved so that does not affect our people, even in the long run.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, what do you think should be the solution? Without taking the route of impeaching the CS, farmers in the North Rift are given their fair share, and even the alleged maize, which is still at the port of Mombasa, also gets its way into the market, if at all it's there, so that there's a level playing field for everyone.
Yeah.
What should happen?
Thank you. I think what should happen is, if you look at the reality, definitely the maize that is projected to be harvested in this country will not be enough to satisfy the demand in this country. At one point, we'll definitely have a shortage of maize, and definitely importation will be warranted. And if this drought goes on, demand for maize will even be more, because people up north are not only feeding maize to their children, they are even feeding it to their thousands of heads of cattle, sheep and goats, because that's the only food that is now available for both humans and their livestock. So definitely the demand for maize will be higher, and definitely we will not avoid to import maize. But what needs to be done is to cushion and protect those farmers who've put in a lot of effort in producing the maize that is being harvested now. It is only fair that the government gives them the right price, which exists currently, before they unleash the imported maize onto the market. Otherwise, there will be a lot of hue and cry, and this country has always been a country of unequals. Those who have plenty will always have their own fair share of problems. Those who have less will also have their own fair share of problems. So how do we strike a balance so that those who have less also get the opportunity? You see, we are looking at a situation now. Those pastoralists, for example, who have livestock up north, we are told their bumper harvest and their food rotting even in some parts of this country because they are not able even to sell. It's too much that they're not able to sell. But when you drive those animals to come and eat some of those food which is going bad, people will chop your camels, they will chop the herders, they will make all sorts of noise, you know. So this culture of, you know, trying to be tolerant with each other as Kenyans and accommodate each other during this time of this lean time period of difficulty is a good thing. So farmers who have put in their effort have to be paid.
They have to be given their
due. That's only the fair thing to do. And then, of course, we'll not avoid to import maize. I don't see this hula balu about why we are importing this maize.
Bad? Even you, Mheshimiwa Peter, is it that bad? Are we in that bad situation as a country that we need to import maize right now?
We are. I can tell you for a fact we are, because you see, this country has come through very difficult time. The COVID-19 had hit us so hard. Drought is hitting us so hard. The Ukraine war and the impact it is having on the world is hitting us. You see the fuel prices that we are having difficulties even driving our vehicles around. So it's hard. It's hard. People may not even have, you know, the entitlement to buy some of these expensive food in the markets. You need these food prices to come down, because that's why wherever the president goes, people talk about unga, people talk about milk price. You see, people, ordinary Kenyans, want to see the prices of this food go down, not because they just want it to go down for fun. It's because people don't have entitlement. They cannot afford to buy that food. And I think as a government, it's only fair to face this real picture.
But quickly, as we come to a close to this one, Mheshimiwa, let me ask you, the issue of Galana Kulalu, as Member of Parliament, why don't you revive that sector one more time and make it so vibrant and let it achieve its mandated goal, which was its original plan? To cushion Kenyans, Galana Kulalu, white elephant in the room?
Yeah, I think in the thinking of this government, and His Excellency the President and the Kenya Kwanza plan, I think they have an elaborate plan in ensuring that this time round things must work. And the one thing is that we must get ourselves into a position, into a point where we are going to produce more food. And you already have heard that the president himself has pronounced that within this time we are going to come up with about 100 dams. And focus will also be on food production especially in areas that have low rains and are endowed with rivers.
Yeah.
So we are going to focus on irrigation, and one of them is that you talk about, and many others that will come up, so that we become food secure as we move along, and this thing of people dying from hunger becomes a thing of the past with the time. So I think it will be the focus of this government. You know, the other time, His Excellency the President was Deputy President. He was not able to move many things.
Yes.
But according to the Kenya Kwanza plan now, I think that is on course, and we are going to revive some of those things. Remember, the likes of Aror and Kimwarer Dam stalled because of either politics or something else. And I think this time they are going to be revived and taken to completion so that they achieve the purpose for which they were intended. So many other projects that got stalled because of push and pull during that time and because of certain interests, this time I think they are...
And I believe Kenya can achieve.
Yes, we can achieve food, we can be food secure if we mop up resources and we direct them to the correct places and we do correct investments. We will. We have many places in the north that we can change through irrigation, and then people just produce their food and even provide water for their livestock.
Yeah.
Get to Uganda and you get a model in Uganda where the President, Honorable Museveni, has made huge dams that don't even dry up even during dry season. So one time we were in Moroto, Uganda, with the Mheshimiwa, that time the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, and those of us from the north. And we met Mheshimiwa Museveni, and you know, there was a model, and we looked at it, and we said we have to borrow this. It was a kind of benchmarking. And now we are implementing that in this country now, that we want big dams, maybe at a cost of about 200 million. So that now, if we get those ones, many of those ones now, people in the north will be happy, and their livestock will be getting water without any problem over time. Even if we get ourselves in such a situation, we cannot be worried that our livestock will not get water. We have a big dam. So I think we'll do those things and with some other benchmarking. It's just like these issues of even security. If we can benchmark from Uganda, our neighbors here, how they have handled matters security and matters ethnic conflict, we can go far. The only problem is that we need the correct strategy. We need review and review in the way we recruit people into our security agencies, something like that. And then, you know, there are people in this country who think that Kenya is Nairobi here or Kenya is around here.
Yes.
Kenya is a big place. Yeah. So.
All right. Wishman, now that you are still on a point of order, let me use that word if I correctly use it. You are still on the floor. Very quickly, going to this is the front page of the Standard, and I think that this one touches almost on everyone across the country. The new school fees burden for parents. That is also the front page of the Standard here. Kenyans who are already burdened by the high cost of living will be dealt a major blow as the government moves to end a school fees holiday that saw some caregivers get a reprieve of up to 8,500 shillings a year. Basic Education PS Julius Joan says that schools will revert to the old new school fees charged before COVID-19 outbreak. That story is completely fleshed out there for you on page 8. I don't know, what's your mind on this, Mheshimiwa? Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa, now that you're still on a point of order. Are we supposed to go back? Do we need to go back? People are still straining. And starting a new year with this, if it's activated, you'd imagine the kind of strain that many parents and caregivers will have in their pocket.
You know, the way I look at it is that, first of all, we are going back to almost the school calendar that we are used to. You know, before and during COVID, we sort of got into a crash program where a term would be 9 weeks, 10 weeks. And so I think this time around, from 2023, we are getting back into the usual school calendar that we know. And terms will be about 13 weeks. As has been before, and I think it's only the papers that are putting it this way, but correctly put, we are going back to the old fees guideline. It is not that these fees has been increased. We're simply going back to the old fees guideline.
Yes.
You know, before that, I think there was a reprieve, and you know, I think owing to the fact that terms were even brief, terms were even short. That is why they were reduced from 53,000 to about 45, right? So we are getting back to where the fees was before COVID. So is that equal to an increase?
Right.
If you may put it. Yeah, because before that, the fees was at 53,000. So we are simply going back, and the terms are also going back to their normal terms, their normal duration of about 13 weeks. During the COVID time,
yes,
you know, there was a crash program of in a year we would even have 4 terms, and we were paying fees that was a bit reduced, you know. But now we are going back to the usual school calendar that we used to, and the fees is going back to where it was. That is it.
This is Mheshimiwa Kore, you know what really happens is, actually, let me just get the whole gist of the story. Parents to pay more after school fees subsidy stops. Just to get the background of this, it says that government announces secondary schools will revert to pre-COVID charges in January.
Yes.
And a circular by Basic Education PS Julius Juan says that the fees holiday that saw some parents get a reprieve of up to 8,500 shillings will end as government reverts to fees charged before COVID-19.
So not increase.
Not increase before COVID-19.
Yes.
Now
So
the move which will see big setback for parents who are already feeling the pinch of the harsh economic times. We'll see those with children in national and extra county schools pay up to 53,000.
Yes.
554, up from the present 45,000 shillings.
So maybe I want to make a comment.
Yes.
That you know, you have rightly said that we are reverting back
to the old fee structure.
To the old fee structure. The structure before COVID. That is true. And you know, now parents are used to, in a term, paying less 8,000.
Yes.
But we are now saying that because we are reverting back, and we are now in a very hard economic time, that's where now the problem is. Because the situation now is, it is bad. The economy is not doing very well. People don't have money in their pockets. That is now where the problem is. And that is the more reason why we're even saying, when you've heard us in Parliament and the majority of the members of Parliament saying, CDF should be released very fast. So that CDF can also go a long way to cushioning parents from this hard time. So that CDF can also pay bursary.
Yes.
Other institutions that are also assisting parents to pay bursary should also come up so that we assist our parents in paying bursary and reduce the burden from them. That is the justification why we are pushing even the government and even the Treasury to release money for CDF, so that come January, we have resources that we can assist our parents to pay fees and take their children to school. Yes. Okay.
Mheshimiwa Kore, you know what really happens? It means that most parents who are we are going for holiday in December, but at the back of your mind, you have got an increase of around 5,000 to 8,500 shillings awaiting you in January. Let me ask this question. Don't you think the government can do something better to extend the holiday?
Yes. I think the government can do something better.
Yes.
And should do something better than this. Because one, if the caregivers got the reprieve they got because of COVID-19, I can assure you the impact of COVID-19 is still with us even today.
Yes, still fresh.
Nobody has survived from the impact. A lot of businesses were closed, a lot of jobs were lost, some people lost even loved ones. So some of the children who used to have to get caregivers who pay their fees are now orphans. And I tell you, that impact is still with us. Secondly, I would also say, particularly for those of us who come from, I told you this is a country of unequals.
Yes.
Those of us who come from up north, the cost of education was even higher, even when we were having that reprieve. It was still higher because of the drought. And I told you, people sell their cattle, sheep, and goats to pay for that fees. These people now will depend on HNSP support to even feed their families. They are not able to pay the nini because their money is not in the banks. Their money is on foot. Those animals who walk around. That's why people wonder, why do pastoralists, especially in Pokot and Turkana, herd the animals with guns?
Yes.
It's just like the way you have police armed in front of banks, guarding the money in the bank. So those are our banks on mobile, on foot. And those animals are now dead. The people estimate almost 75% of livestock up in the north have perished during this drought. So those hardships are there. And then, of course, because this drought has really become prolonged, because of the impact of climate change and also the act of humans. There is frequent closures and movement of people from even where schools were. You'll find some of our parents and their children are in Somalia, they are in Ethiopia, because they've moved with the animals. So there are these frequent closures and frequent whatever. And then not forgetting that next year, for example, a parent may have a child who's graduating from grade 6, going to grade 7, at the same time another one joining Form 1 and another one doing Form 4. You can imagine that burden to a parent who, with that double intake, the books that are going to be bought, the school fees that is expected to be paid, and then the disruptions that is coming from the drought, and those are the challenges. And even the way we do capitation for school fees in this country, I think it's not fair, because you see, you do the same capitation for a rich child in Nairobi, same for that child in up north there. So there are some people who cannot afford to pay that, even what they call the basic minimum. They've set through that capitation. Yes. So I agree with my colleague, honorable member from Sigor, the fact that the CDF funds have also been, still an issue in Parliament. It's causing a lot of trouble for the people down there, because CDF has been the most visible. Some people think CDF is money for the MPs. MPs have nothing to do with that money. That money is going directly to assist the people in our constituencies, paying for bursaries, constructing classrooms. Like now we are going to have double intakes, constructing classrooms, constructing toilets, constructing laboratories, constructing the dining rooms for students. And unless this fund is released so that we can lessen some of the burden that our parents are having,
then the trouble will still continue. But Mheshimiwa Peter, very quickly, but if you look at it, don't you think the government should extend the holiday? I mean, a majority of Kenyans have not yet recovered from the pangs of COVID-19, and now that we have got this circular from the PS, don't you think the government should continue to give this reprieve and holiday?
Yes, I want to say that if government is able to do it, it should do it. It should do it. Because anything that will lower the cost of education in this country, we will welcome. Yeah, because we don't want to make education very expensive. That is why we have even issues with CBC. CBC is becoming very expensive. And as we move forward, I think the whole curriculum of CBC should be reviewed. But however, I want to say that if government has resources, then it should be able to continue the reprieve of parents, so that parents can pay less. And in this regard, even what is making the cost of education higher in most of the schools is the inadequacy of teachers. Parents chip in to even pay for extra teachers in those schools, because government is not able to recruit teachers that can fit in all the schools that we have. So we have that challenge. But we have heard that I think in January or around there, they will recruit more. So we hope this burden will be taken away from parents. And two, we have the issue of a school feeding program in some areas. If government is willing and ready, and if economy stabilizes, then we would also think of just education becoming free, so that even food should be supplied to schools, so that we reduce even the cost of either boarding, for boarding schools, and that again lowers the cost of education and brings the school fees down. So that's what I think that the government should be able to focus that. But we will definitely give this government time, so that first of all it must work on the economy, so that the economy improves. Then when it improves and we are sure that now we are raising enough resources in this country, then we can think of even making education real free. Yes. Because as it is now, even when we are saying basic education is supposed to be free, or is free, in the actual sense of free, it is not. It is not. That is why we are even thinking of marginalized counties. We need to have a different model for marginalized counties in education, so that those people should be brought as close as possible to the rest of Kenya. And we can only do that if we have incentives in schools that will ensure that students go to... That sounds like a good motion you should bring to the... So that now we want to make education in the north to be very free. Exactly. Mheshimiwa, so that we can think like that, yes.
Yes, definitely, I agree. I agree with Mheshimiwa, and I will also strengthen the point on extending the reprieve for parents in fees. definitely, because I would say if...
How do you survive without the CDF, now that you are here? Just asking.
It is difficult.
Most of us depend on CDF. How is it down there?
No, it is difficult. Before I come to that point of CDF, I would say that reprieve should be extended, and it's not a matter of if. A government cannot run bankrupt. It only takes the tax the debt burden to the next government. So the government can afford to extend this reprieve. If we were able to send soldiers to DRC Congo at a cost of 7 billion, 7.2 billion shillings, we can extend this reprieve for parents who have a problem in paying these school fees. Now, coming to the matter of the CDF, is a very innovative development agenda at the grassroots.
Yes.
It actually speaks to the localization of development at the grassroots, where communities participate in decision making, in the management, and in the identifying of the problem that they want sorted, and especially now that the CDF is confined largely to the education and the security sector. Those two sectors in some parts of this country, like for example, I know some areas of this country will not have problems in infrastructure, for example, for schools. They have enough.
Yes.
But taking cue from my friend Mheshimiwa, the question of school fees, the question of development of infrastructure, if we have to realize the goal of universal education for all in this country, then the question of Northern Kenya and how education is looked at in terms of making it cheaper should be looked at in a very critical manner.
I'm told we are running out of time.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm afraid that we just have to end it there. I've been having Honorable Abdul Haro Kore, Member of Parliament, Mandera South, as well as Honorable Peter Lochaka Pong, who is member of Sigor constituency. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in studio. We are quite interested to follow up the story on how it is going to unfold on the floor of the House, the issue of maize and how you members of Parliament are going to handle it moving forward. Kenyans are looking up to you to make their lives better.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. All right, let's take a break and we come back. GMK still continues after this. Good morning.